Okay, put this on silent. Don't need both, you just need one. And here we are. This is it. We are live. We are all there and silent. Just put me on silent here. Happy days. Okay, Thomas, we're here. It's happening.
We made it. We made it,
We
Lars.
made it. Hello, LinkedIn. Thomas and myself, we want to talk about your mindset for success. And that's all about exploring and the overwhelm and leadership and the power of mindset shifts, and then we will transition into like talking about confidence and calm. But as I always like to use the time with expert and inspiring people like Thomas to explore and have a flowy conversation and create some wisdom of nuggets for you as we go. And what I always like to do at the beginning is then to introduce the guest. So, Thomas Godfrey, thank you for being here. Thank you to taking the time to have a chat. And yeah,
Yeah.
I like to always take the time at the beginning to let the guest introduce themselves because you can do it best
Yeah.
yourself. So, like, let us know a bit about yourself.
Thanks, Lars. It's great to see you, and thanks for having me on. I'm glad we've made it. We've had some cool conversations. I've been enjoying following you on LinkedIn and following your content, and your message really resonates. So, thanks for doing everything you're doing. First of all, um, yeah. So I guess to introduce myself. First of all, I'm a father. That's where I'm starting. I'm a father. I'm a dad. That's my that's my number one. And I'm a husband. And I'm also a coach. And I'm also an author now.
Mm,
Um, I've written my debut book, Shift, 10 Mindset
congrats to
Shifts to the
that.
Great Awakening. And also my business is called Shift, Mindset Mastery. Shift is the word. So I've been a coach for the past 3 or 4 years. Prior to that, I had a career. I was a career employee. I had quite a varied career. I was in finance and commercial and healthcare, sales leadership, mental
Hmm.
health care. I was a career guy. And I made a transition a few years ago into coaching full time. I launched my practice. And in the coaching space, having coached hundreds of people, I've kind of discovered thing this thing that seems to be in all of us. I used to think it was just in me. Well, no, actually, no. I found something in me, and then I knew it was nothing to do with me. I knew it was this thing that's this kind of part of the human experience. So I guess I've spent the last 2, 3 years in the coaching space discovering and refining Shift, what is now Shift, which is the mindset mastery method for leaders. And it's basically a well-being tool. It delivers a 76% improvement in well-being, and it's through mindset coaching. It's through very simple, very powerful, universal principles that I've discovered through coaching hundreds of men and women from all different backgrounds, all over the world, all different demographics, job titles, all of this. It doesn't matter. Um, so that's what I do now. I coach mainly one to one. I'm creating a course based on the principles of Shift so I can scale it and get it out to more people. And eventually, I want to be able to use it as a tool that coaches can actually use themselves. It's basically a scalable tool for well-being. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, that's an amazing insight. I love that. And I feel a lot of coaches out there made that transition. And I feel that's also the message that I want our audience to hear, that there is always a way to improve your life through by realizing what about the things that are holding you back. And in your case, you feel that these are mindset shifts that people can make to enhance their lives. And that obviously is then very personal. How are they utilizing it? Some
Mm.
people do a career change, some are just utilizing it on their day to day to have a bit more peace. Other people just using it whatever capacity they needed to. But at the end of the day, it helps everyone to be a bit more themselves, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, man.
And
Yeah. Well, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be amazing if you could just be yourself? Wouldn't that be amazing?
to be honest, that's the dream, isn't it?
I think so.
To
Yeah.
me, that's the dream.
I,
So,
yeah, I
like,
think
I had a
so.
bit of look on your profile, and you also work with a couple of leaders in the field. What do
Yeah.
you feel like were the most common stress triggers you
Yeah.
saw among those leaders, and how did that affect their decision making and relationships?
Man, that's such a good question. So, okay, look, where I'm at with pretty much everything now is that I'm going to make some bold claims here, but I'm very open to challenge.
Go for it.
This is where I'm at. I'm learning I'm not an expert, first of all. I'm trying to figure it out like we all are. First of all, I believe that all suffering is in the mind. And I'm going to qualify that statement by saying that pain is real. Pain is felt in the body, and that's very real.
Mhm.
The attached story of suffering is the world of the mind, and therefore is, in inverted commas, not real. And when I'm saying real, I'm talking about five sense reality in the body, in the present. So just to frame that claim that all suffering, or at least 99% of suffering, right? At least the vast majority of suffering is based on the stories that we create, the stories that we attach in the mind. In terms of the question, what are the key stressors? What I've learned, what I've come to understand through coaching all different people from all different backgrounds is that material success doesn't seem to affect this. I've coached CEOs, VPs of multi-billion dollar companies. So supposedly, these are the type of people that I used to look up to and aspire to, and think that this is what we're all kind of doing it for, right? Is to become materially successful. They have the same challenges and the same underlying disconnect and seeking and suffering that everyone else does. And the baseline, I believe, the baseline of suffering, the baseline core cause is this idea that I'm not good enough. And it's found. So initially, I used to think this was just me. I used to think, like, is there something wrong with me? Right? Because I'm kind of doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing, right? I'm kind of pursuing this path, I'm kind of building a career, I'm kind of progressing. Yeah, I'm supposedly successful to some extent. Why aren't I happy? There must be something wrong with me. And then when I compare myself to other people, and I look at other people, and it's like I'm comparing how I feel on the inside versus how others appear on the outside. Nah, that's not a fair comparison, but it seems like everyone else seems okay. So that's the first thing. It's like, is there something wrong with me? And this idea of not good enough, I think it's been present in everyone I've ever coached to some degree, and then it manifests as other things. It's this idea of I'm not good enough, therefore I've got to strive. If I can just get to here, if I can just do a thing, if I can just become someone, then I'll be good enough. If I can just achieve, if I can just attain, if I can just become accepted and get approval, and all these kind of external measures. So I believe that everyone has that to some degree, or rather, I believe that is the gap, that is the source of all suffering. This belief, this core belief of not good enough, and I've started calling it the mind, the not good enough mind virus, because it just seems to be present in everyone. And then to answer the question in terms of how does that manifest as stress, well, it just, everything can be traced back to that, because it's like, well, if I just work a bit harder, then I'll be good enough. If I just achieve a bit more, then I'll be good enough. And then it leads to burnout and overwhelm and just lack of satisfaction and lack of fulfillment.
Mm. So what I'm hearing is then this suffering in the mind and the core fear of not being good enough, or that, that sense of not being good enough, is based on the wrong idea, the conditioning that we have been indoctrinated over the years, that helps us, or like that, well, it doesn't help us actually to become our true selves. Because if we're thinking I'm not good enough,
Mm,
and especially, and I talked to a fellow coach the other day, and she talked about that a lot of leaders also need that sense of achievement, and
mm.
therefore which is essential external validation that they need in order to feel worth, that
Oh man.
they are actually good enough. And therefore, what they then keep doing is achieving,
Yes. Yes.
without, or rarely, taking a step back to reflect, where's that achievement then leading me to? Because at some point, I imagine it's that they're getting to that stage where there's no going further. You really feel like, yeah, I achieved everything. I'm CEO now.
Mm,
What's left to achieve? And like she's specialized in that field, and she mentioned that there's a sense of emptiness there, this
mm,
sense of, what do I do now? Like, if there's nothing more for me. And I feel like that's a massive problem. And I feel like, if I always like to, I hope I get this quote right from Tony Robbins. It's a kind of, you know, creating success for the sake of success is like the ultimate failure. So basically, you're creating success that's actually not meaningful to you. And
right.
therefore, that's the ultimate failure. When you're getting to that stage, you have been working towards the CEO role, where you have been like trying for ages, and now you're at that stage. Now I'm here, and still it doesn't give you that fulfillment, because
Mm,
you've been conditioned to external validation.
mm.
Is, yeah, not really true success. That makes sense. I know. Like, I've been went on a tangent here. Does that make sense?
No, that's not a tangent at all. I think that describes it perfectly. It never fills the hole, because there's always going to be something more. This is the thing. There's always going to be more stuff. There's always going to be more achievements. And this isn't to downplay or undermine striving and expansion and goal setting and achievement and growth. Right. That's amazing. But when it's done from a place of fear, basically fear of failure. So again, this is another thing with, when I think about the people that I consider to be success, the conventional success measures, material success, most of them, if not all of them, have been driven by a fear of failure. And ultimately, when you really get down to it, it's this idea of, I'm not good enough. It's under there somewhere. It's, something's happening, because all of these belief systems we've got, they all come from childhood. And then we carry them until we figure them out and see them, and we can actually see them for what they are. And that's a huge part of the coaching process, is being able to see your own belief system just objectively, without judgment, just to be able to view it and go, okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting that I kind of know this stuff, but I've never really sort of taken a step back and just being able to see it without judging it. So this thing about fear of failure, there's always going to be something more. Like there's always something more to achieve, more to attain, but it's never filling that hole inside. It's never filling that. It's ultimately hollow, like you said, and like the Tony Robbins quote about, yeah, okay, success, but if it's not, so I talk about success without fulfillment. Success without fulfillment. Well, if
That's
there,
this was the success without fulfillment is the
yeah,
ultimate failure. Yes,
right,
nice.
yeah, right, perfect, yeah, because if there is no fulfillment, then, well, is it really success? If you're doing it to meet some again, it's this external validation idea. It's ultimately saying that I'm okay, I'm good enough if, and then a set of factors that are out there, other people's perception of me, or my external standing in society, whatever it is, right? But it's outsourcing this. I think perhaps the thing that we are all seeking, and you said it in the opening, this thing about inner peace. I think this is what we're all seeking. We're all seeking alignment. We're all seeking just being able to be, oh no, be yourself, like you said, to be yourself, right? Just to be okay. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. That might seem a tiny thing, but actually, how many people can really say, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. I think that's a mega powerful thing to be able to say it and mean it and feel it.
Yeah. I think you think in the English language, and when I worked, as an engineer on the shop floor, uh, I think maybe it's just a general thing, but I experienced this a lot in my career. That the most common answer to "How are you?" was "Not too bad," and that was
Yeah.
another baseline level. That's that not too bad. But what does that say? That doesn't say anything. It's kind of, is it good? Is it bad? It's in between. Is what does it actually mean? And that's yeah. That leads me also to think, how often do we actually say how we really are? Like, what do we really feel? Like,
How do you
what's
feel?
your
How do you feel?
current mental well-being, physical well-being, spiritual well-being? How do
Mm,
you actually feel about it? And yeah, I think there needs to be more of a push towards the openness to create an atmosphere where you feel safe to open up on how you truly feel without being judged. Uh, um, that's just on that now. What I wanted to actually want to get more into, you spoke about people need, or the people you work with is need to fill that hole.
mm,
So how are you approaching it to help them to fill that hole?
mm. Yeah, good question. Well, ultimately, it's feeling into, like, what what is it that you really want?
Mm,
Like, what do you? And it comes back to feeling. This is always the question. This is the ultimate measure. The ultimate benchmark is, how do you feel? And just as an aside, before I come back to the question, what I've noticed is when I ask the question, how do you feel? What normally happens is a story comes in about, well, this thing happened last week and I've been thinking about this and I've been blah, blah, blah. And it goes into this kind of story of thought. But the question is, how do you feel? And that question brings you right into now, and it brings you right into the body. And again, this is the difference between the body and the mind, the world of the mind being the world of beliefs, being the world of suffering. The body is present, the body is real. We spend most of our life in the world of the mind. And there's loads of studies that back this up. There's a large body of evidence that says the number is somewhere between 95% and 99% of the day. Most of us are stuck in the auto thinking world of the subconscious mind. We're just playing out a program, just playing out a program. And it makes sense. It's so we don't have to learn how to do everything over and over again, right? And you know what it's like when you drive somewhere and you drive for half an hour and then you get there and you don't remember any of the journey. It's because you weren't there, you weren't conscious. That's fine. But what it means is you're not actually consciously thinking most of the time. You're not actually consciously making decisions. And most people say, I feel stuck, I feel stuck, I feel stuck. And really it's because you're stuck in that looping world of the mind, that looping world of beliefs. And that world of beliefs is your self-identity. That's who we believe. We think we are our beliefs. We think we are made up of our beliefs.
mm,
I'm the type of person who. I'm not the type of person who. I'm not someone who. I'm not one of those people. I'm just not. That's not me. That's not me. That's not me. And most of our beliefs are actually that way, right? They kind of set that. I'm not this person. I'm not this person. I'm not this person. I've never been someone who. I've never been someone who. And it just creates this kind of limitation.
mm.
I've forgotten the question because I went off on a bit of a tangent.
That's absolutely right. I talked about to fill that hole. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
how do you like
Oh yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
would help leaders or like people you work
Yeah.
with in general help them to fill that hole?
Right, great. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the reminder. And the reason I went off on that tangent is because most of what shift mindset mastery is, it is unprogramming kind of old belief systems. So the first thing we do is we look at existing belief systems. We look at basically in terms of the process, I sit and listen and I reflect back. And even just saying what's on your mind, right? Saying what you're thinking, saying what you're feeling, saying how you're behaving, and just speaking without judgment. Because normally, if you share with a friend, unintentionally, with very good intentions, they're going to try and fix you. They're going to try and give advice, right? It's going to come back with conditions. It's going to come back with judgment. So I think the primary role of a coach is to be able to just give reflection without judgment, just compassionate reflection. Okay, here's what you're saying. Is that right? Cool. What are you noticing? So immediately, if you say, well, because most of your day you're living in this world of the mind, you're stuck in this loop. It's the same thing every day. 95% of it is just repeat, 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 and you live inside of it, and you think that is you, but it isn't. It's just the world of the mind. So if you get that out in the coaching space and you hear it reflected back to you, you hear yourself saying it out loud, you hear it reflected back to you. Immediately, there's lightness. Immediately, okay, cool. Suddenly, life feels better. Suddenly everything I thought that I was afraid of, everything I thought that I was scared of, everything I thought that I was ashamed of, everything I thought I felt guilty about, all of this stuff. No, actually it looks quite different now I've said it. I can see it for what it is. Cool. That's the first thing. What do you want to do with that? Like, how much of that do you want to let go of? How much of that do you want to let go of? How much of that is serving you? So it comes two things. It's like, who am I today? And that's about seeing your subconscious belief systems. Who am I today? Who do I think I am? And then who am I becoming? And that becomes the question. It's all about future focus. Who am I becoming? And that's not an easy question. Like, how do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? That's the first question. How do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? Why is that important to you? Like, how do you want to spend your day? Like, how do you want to feel about at the end of your week? Like, what is a successful week to you? Like, what is important to you? When you look back at the end of your life, how many regrets do you want to have? These sort of questions, right? To just really start to feel into what is it that's driving you? Because we've all got it in us. We've all got this kind of soul spark, or whatever you want to call it, this passion, this purpose. We've all got it, and it's all unique. I believe we've all got our own unique version of it. And I kind of believe now that that's our purpose. That is kind of what we're here to do, is figure out what it is that how we're here to serve. I think we're all here to serve. As when I say serve, I mean everyone's got something unique to bring, and it's basically by being yourself, to come back to where you started. So I just help people feel into that unconditionally. When you can see that, everything's so simple. It's so simple. Decisions are very, very, very simple when you can just see them clearly. Decisions are so simple. I don't believe, and also this idea of wrong decisions, I don't believe there's a wrong decision. You just make decisions and then you learn from them. You make decisions and you learn from them. It's just so a lot of it is just a lot of it is awareness. Self-awareness is the first kind of the first shift, is self-awareness, and it's just being able to view yourself, your own thoughts, feelings, and actions with objective non-judgment, objective compassion, just with curiosity. Oh, that's interesting. I've been behaving like this for 25 years. That's interesting. Cool. Now what?
Hmm. You said so much good stuff there around. Like, I love that unprogramming the belief system, and you're just sitting there and just listen attentively with a non-judgmental, safe space approach. And that always comes back to me because, Freud was always saying that therapy is the talking cure. And I feel coaching is has a lot of similar aspects to therapy. Obviously, focusing on therapy is the past, coaching is more future based, but still uses similar methodologies within that. And therefore, I feel giving somebody the space to actually verbalize their thoughts, hearing them self-reflecting back. And, oh, by the way, I love this good question when you say, like, what are you noticing? To make them aware of their own things that they were saying out loud and what are the patterns by speaking it out loud, manifesting it out there, and just sense check what your thoughts kept telling you. Now you're hearing it back. It's just brilliant. And I love that bit around how much are you, I think I'm not sure if you said that, but I think you said something around how much are you willing to change, which is a great stepping stone towards empowering them, because you're asking in a way like for permission to change. Like, how much are you willing to change? Because sometimes we are just so unwilling to change because we are in this identity, we are in this sense of ourselves at the moment, that we sometimes are not really that much willing to change, because for whatever reason, because change also means you're shaking off something, identity. So because
Yeah.
you feel like this is me, like I created, like I'm 38 years old. I have to change myself now in order to create a new identity. I'm quite good with who I am. Yeah, you wouldn't be in a coaching session right now if you think you would, to be fair. So, and then that question of who am I becoming? Like, who am I also ready to become? What do you want to feel on a daily basis? Like, I love that. And one last thing, I felt that the decisions are simple, but they're not easy. I think that's the thing. I think that's this distinction, because
Very good distinction. Yeah.
are kind of the stepping stone between you and change, and making that change might, and as you said correctly, like that might lead to failure,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
exclamation marks here, an associated failure, but actually it might be just a stepping stone. Like
Yeah.
I think I love always love this metaphor. I think it was like an American Navy sergeant, and he
Oh yeah.
said, like, when you are in the woods and you have no flipping idea where to go, just go. You just go, and you will figure it out on the way if you're going in the right direction or not, as you are seeing like where the woods are leading to. Maybe you go up a hill, we get more of a perspective where you are. But if you're just standing in this place, you're not getting knowledge, you're getting more anxious, and you probably die. So therefore, like if you're at the decision point and you don't know what the right decision is, just
Yeah.
making a decision
Just get on
is
there. Yeah.
creating the clarity that you might need. Maybe it was the wrong decision, but that's a success even.
Yes.
That's
Yes. Absolutely, yeah. Even if it
yeah.
was and that's why I say there really are no wrong decisions, because all we're ever doing when we reflect on a wrong decision is this isn't just some cliche, this isn't just some platitude that there are no wrong decisions. When we talk about a wrong decision, what we're doing is we're going back in time and we're creating an alternative timeline, right? We're comparing reality, we're comparing what actually happened versus a hypothetical world of the mind timeline. It's impossible to say what would have happened had I made that decision. It's impossible, because we're not just we're undermining. Yeah, we're going into we're undermining quantum physics, right? We're trying to have the best of both worlds. We're disregarding everything positive that came out of this decision. We're disregarding all of it because we're calling it a wrong decision. And then we're going back in and creating an alternative timeline where we made the right decision. And then we're comparing the wrong decision with a hypothetical right decision. And it's just a ridiculous comparison. It just makes no sense at all. So that's why I say there are no wrong decisions. Really, there is just decision. It's just about making decisions and learning from them, making decisions and learning from them. It's not easy at all. I agree. And the distinction between simple and easy is a mega distinction, because it's still going to feel painful, but that's good. That's where the learning is. That's where the growth is. That's where the stepping out of the familiarity is.
Mm, that's good. and that brings me also back, to like everything starts with a sense of awareness, and that seems to be the most powerful thing where shift or the start of or where the start of change is.
Mm.
And I'm just wondering if you have maybe a client story where you felt that you created that awareness for one of your clients that led them to a like a breakthrough, probably in both their professional and their personal life. So like, do you have something
Yeah,
in your mind? I know I'm putting you on the spot here a little
yeah,
bit.
no, that's okay. Yeah, I struggle to think of examples. Okay, so there's an amazing lady that I've worked with for. We've worked together twice now over the past 2 years. We've done kind of two journeys together, and we're potentially working together again, which is wonderful. When I first started working with her, she was she had a so again it's belief systems. She had a limiting she had a sense of limitation around here's my here's my potential, kind of the idea of, and this is in the work setting. So when we first came to work together, when she first came to me for coaching, it was around her professional, it was around her presence at work, right? It was like, I don't feel I've got a presence at work. And it's kind of holding me back. I get overlooked. I'm getting overlooked for promotions and stuff like that. So that was ultimately the ultimate presenting problem was I'm not progressing in my career. But actually, here's what I think is behind it. So we just we just looked into it. We just broke it down and said, okay, what's going on here? What are you noticing happening? What are the situations? What are you how do you think? How do you feel? How do you act? What are you noticing? How is this playing out in the world around you? What's the connection? And this is the amazing bit. What's the connection between how you're feeling and what you're noticing? So yeah, we just started to break it down, and we started to notice, okay, so these beliefs I've got, that where I feel that, okay, actually it turns out I'm not doing certain things. Yeah, I'm not. Quite often what happens in a meeting is she would say that I'll think of something to say in a meeting. I remember this. This is amazing. I think, I hope a lot of people watching can resonate with this one, because I can resonate with this when I think back to my career. You know, when you're sat in a meeting and there's 20 people or whatever on a big Zoom call, and you think of something to say, but you don't say it. For whatever reason, you think, oh, I better not say that. How's it going to look? Right? What if it's the wrong thing to say? And then someone else says it. And then everyone goes, oh, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, yeah, that's a really great point. And she'd noticed that this kept on happening. She'd noticed that this had kept on happening. So we recognized it, we felt into it, we reflected on it, whatever, and we said, okay, what does that mean, etc. What can you do differently? So we just started focusing on that one thing, and ultimately it came down to trusting your instinct. So when you get an instinct to say something, you got to just go with it. You got to just go with it and break the pattern of, should I say this or not? No, I'm going to say it. Like, this has come up for a reason. I'm going to say it. So we just got into that practice of, I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to say what I want to say. And there was a lot that was wrapped up in that, because then it was around, how am I being judged? What are other people going to think of me? What if I say the wrong thing? All of these things. So we did it. She started doing it, and she started getting promotions. So this is kind of this is the side effect. This isn't, but it's kind of a relatable story, right? But the promotions and the material success and all of the things we think we're after, that kind of comes naturally when we find the alignment. So we've kind of got it backwards, because what we worked on with this lady that I'm talking about, and this is what I'm working with all my clients, is finding that alignment, right? Get that right first, and then you can kind of take it with you anywhere you go. So in her example, she's since had 2 or 3 promotions. I think she's had 2, and she's about to have another one. So she's gone from being like a team member to a head of, and now she's potentially going to be a director of. And this is under 3 years. This is 2.5 years. And it's all come back to recognizing I feel stuck, something doesn't feel right. I've had enough of this, and having the courage to say, I deserve to feel better. That for me, that's the foundational question. It's recognizing I feel stuck. Okay, that's cool. Most people can probably say in some way they feel stuck. First of all, you're only stuck in your mind. So that's amazing. So what can we do about that? But then the second question, the most important question, this is the one that takes the courage, is do you believe that you deserve to feel better than you feel right now? And she had the courage to say, yeah, I do actually. I believe that I feel better. I deserve to feel better than this. And yeah, so it started from that. It started from that one thing about speaking up in meetings, and then everything just flowed from there.
Yeah, it seems like that particular piece, what you talk about is the symptoms they are experiencing in real life, that behavior that comes up, and that's the pattern they keep doing because there's something that's holding them back. Because to be honest, I can relate to that particular situation because I've been there myself, but not speaking up in order to avoid being seen as stupid or whatever negative thought is associated with that. And yeah, it sounds like there is this sense of you want to create awareness to those pattern and then find ways to work around it. And then I had a sense, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a sense of confronting that fear for
Mega.
me to
You
to
got to
push
face it.
towards it. I think I like to see this, when you go to a physio, you're getting a massage and you
Mm,
have like a clenched nerve somewhere. What do? Like rubbing around it doesn't really help. What do? Usually they go right into the pain. And that's what it is. This is where the pain then will is released because you're getting into. You have short term, it's even worse, but
mm.
after that you feel so much better. So I see this with that sense as well, because like the only way to get over a fear or over an emotion is to go through it. And
You got to face it.
yes.
You have to fit again where I've got to with this. It's evolving all the time. In fact, I sent a video message out to my WhatsApp group this morning to the Pocket Shift community, talking about fear, because the role fear plays, it's everywhere. It's part of what's keeping. It's a big part of what's keeping us stuck. And this idea that we've got three responses to fear, we've got the fight, flight, and freeze. That doesn't work. That is the world of the mind. So what can we do with fear? We have to face it. You have to face it, because if you don't, what it does is, in not facing it, you kind of create something. You kind of create a thing over here called the thing I'm afraid to look at. And by doing so, you give it energy by not looking at it, right? You're creating it. You're actually feeding it by not facing it. And the only power, this is where I've got to with it, this is my working theory with fear. The only power that it actually holds is in its ability to keep you from looking at it, to keep you from facing it. And when you do actually face it, it's not, it doesn't really have anything for you. Not really. Not really. It's just a feeling in the body. It's just sensations. It's just energy. But it's the story of the world of the mind that holds the power, that holds that maintains it as a fear. It's the story of I can't face this thing, so I'm going to avoid it. So face it and feel it. And then the other one is forgive it. And this is where the past comes into play. And you talked about therapy being focused on the past and coaching more present and future. I couldn't agree more with that. Coaching is absolutely the present and the future. The past plays a role in the present, in the fact that we carry our past every morning. We wake up, we have a choice. It might be subconscious until we make it conscious, but we're choosing how much of our past we're bringing into our day every single day. And so I believe the way to transmute the past, because it's stored in the body, we actually carry it in ourselves. as memories. The way to transmute it is to face it, first of all, which takes courage, to feel it, which takes courage because it feels really scary to face that thing that I'm avoiding facing, and then to forgive it. And that's even more difficult because it's very difficult to forgive.
Mm. Yeah, and I guess with that forgiving, there is a sense of, letting go of it, to say this is the past. And I would even go as far because, those past experience, those past, self that you created, that you're basing your part of your identity on, is also for a lot of people difficult to get let go of because it is part of their identity. And therefore, by letting go of that identity, I think even there's a sense of grief even within that, because you're letting go of some part of you that defined you for years and years and years, and now you're supposed to let go of that, like forgive yourself, forgive others, and let go of that particular part of yourself that comes with a sense of loss, and that
Mm,
that is then subsequently like some grieving there that you need also then to go through in order to move on, because that's painful and that needs processing, but
mm.
that's part of lasting positive change, to move through that as well.
I think that's a brilliant way of describing it. It is like grief, yeah, because it's a part of yourself. Yeah, it is an actual part of your self identity. This it's a part of it. It's me. It's who I believe I am, and that's the same thing with letting go of beliefs. It's letting go of a part of me, and the fear is the deep fear, and why it feels so difficult to do this is because the question then becomes, who am I? Who am I if I'm not me? Because
That's a
this is who I
scary
think that.
question.
Yeah,
That's a
man, isn't
scary
it? Isn't
question.
it? Isn't it? But it's also liberation, and it's also
Yes.
kind of the liberation that we're all seeking, because it's this inner peace thing that we all have, that is our true nature, that's at the core of your being. When you strip away all the memories and all the opinions and all the beliefs, what is left? Well, it's just pure awareness. It's still the same. It's still right here. It's just awareness. That's who you really are.
Mm. And that leads me then also, thank you. That's a nice segue to my next question, actually. So because when you have that, self-awareness, and then you like become more aware about like who you actually are, and like what's your authentic self,
Mm,
you know, and I'm just wondering, like, how do those parts of authenticity and self-awareness, play a role in creating, a fulfilling work life?
mm.
And, how does that play out? Does question make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, totally. Um, what do you love? What do you love? It can't be.
What do you love? Okay.
Yeah, and this is the idea of the soul spark, the idea of passion and purpose and whatever you want to call it. When we're children, and this is part of what I do with my clients, is at some point we go back to, what did you used to love? Like, before you built up all these beliefs and all this external striving, this external seeking, this idea of when I get there, then I'll be happy. What did you used to love when you were a child? Because that's unconditional. And then really, then the question becomes, well, how often do you do that now? How often do you remind yourself of that now? How much time do you spend? So when I did this with my mentor, this exercise, I was like, what did I used to do? I just used to love riding around on my bike, right? I used to love being out in the fields and climbing trees and like the obvious stuff that most children love, I imagine. So to reconnect with that on a daily basis, I always make time to go out and walk around in nature. I'm surrounded by fields out here. So I'll go and be out in nature. I'll go and just appreciate. the trees, the wind, the sounds, and it's just this. Even if it's just for 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. But it's this daily connection, this daily reminder. Yeah, this is what I love, because that's not really going to change. And some people I coach have ended up in a career that they're doing what they love. They've already found, and they've kind of ended up doing it. But a lot of people aren't, and they're striving for what they think is going to bring happiness via success. But they're missing, well, actually, what do I enjoy? Like, what parts of my job right now really get me excited and like really inspire me and really, yeah, really resonate? Because it's going to be different for everyone, and that's the only thing we need to pay attention to. And it's not practical to say that every moment of every day you're going to be in this blissful state of alignment, but just being consciously aware to pay attention to the feeling of alignment, which is always going to be there. Once you start to pay attention to it, again, it's getting out of the mind. It's not trying to make sense of it. It's getting into the body and just feeling, yeah, okay, cool. This is what lights me up. This is my soul spark, my passion. This is what you're here for. So find a way to incorporate this into as much of your day as you can. Because if you don't, I mean, what's the alternative? you might as well do it a tiny bit each day, right?
That's also just, I think, a good practical example to remind yourself, to stay aligned with who you think, like who you feel you truly are. And I think that inner child piece and connecting to that and embracing that. What did you use to love? What sparks you? What do you love to do? And I think, and as you said correctly, like the belief system make us uh forget it, or at least not think about it for a very long period of time. And those examples of reconnecting to that, I think that's also something very helpful for the viewers to have, just to find ways to reconnect and realign with yourself. So going into nature, feeling the air, being present. I think these
Being
are
present, yeah, being present, getting out of the mind, because the world of the mind is past and future, past and future, past and future. That's all it ever is. The mind is redundant in the present, utterly redundant. It has no purpose in the present. The body, however, is always present. It couldn't be anywhere else. So one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given is get out of the mind and get into the body. And so how do you do that practically? Well, you can breathe, for starters. Breath is always present. And you can just start to pay attention. Oh, I've gone into the mind again. If you notice yourself thinking about the past or thinking about the future, that's cool. You've gone into the world of the mind. Come back to the present. Come back in the body. Back in the body. And you're going to be doing it for 99% of your day, because that's just what you've been doing. But it's a practice. And then when it becomes a conscious practice, it becomes easier and easier. And then that's where peace is found, is in the present, because it couldn't be anywhere else.
100%. This is beautiful. Thomas, I would love just to slowly wrap up, but with that in mind, I would love to hear from you. Is there anything, first of all, that you feel we haven't talked about that you really, really wanted to talk about?
We could go for another 50 minutes if I no, there's nothing obvious. No, this has been amazing. And thanks for giving me the space to reflect and share. I've really enjoyed the conversation today. So no, I'm really happy to have had this conversation. So I appreciate you.
And to close the conversation, I would love to hear from you. Like, what's your message to the world?
Well, the only message is the question that I've already shared. And I invite everyone to ask this question and really ask it honestly. Do you believe Do you truly believe that you deserve to feel better than you feel right now? Ask yourself the question. And if you do, then that's amazing, because that's the opportunity of a lifetime. And take action and do something about it, because I believe you do. I believe everyone deserves to feel aligned and to feel. I believe we all have what we are seeking. This is the paradox. Everything you are seeking is already within you right now. You hold all the answers within you. You're never ever going to find it out there, because no matter what it is that you think you're going after, no matter what it is, no matter your goals, no matter your whatever achievements you think you're going after, it's not about the thing itself, it's about the feeling that you believe it will bring. So it's all about the feeling anyway, and the feeling is already here within you.
Mm, that's beautiful. And it's a very powerful and important message. Do you deserve to feel better? Yeah. I'll write that down. All right, Thomas and LinkedIn community, thank you very much for tuning in. We really appreciate everyone's time. Uh, Tom, you're just amazing soul. I appreciate you so much and all
You
your
too, man.
wisdom shared with us today. And we have this as a recording, so feel free to watch it back for everyone who couldn't make it today. And from Tom and myself, we say goodbye. And
Cheers.
yes, see you around. Tom, thank you very much.
Thanks, Lars.
Cheers.